What's up, guys, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now, like in previous episodes, we're just going to do a little bit of catching up before we really get into the main topic. So, Brent, what have you been doing since the last time we talked?
Well, got a new microphone here, so maybe I sound more like you today. And besides
Yeah.
that, participated in PatmoCon a few days ago. So this is Paint All the Minis is a podcast, and he's really good at
Mm-hmm.
bringing the community together and stuff. And in light of the fact that everyone is in their own homes, he did a virtual convention kind of through Discord, and for that, I had my own little like Discord room, so I just sat in a room for 6 hours or so, and I was assembling Space Marines, and people were dropping in and hanging out, and yeah, so I don't actually know how the convention went. People seem to be enjoying it. I got some old lines scraped, talked to some folks. That was good.
So it was all like audio based, like Discord chat?
Yeah, I think some people had Zoom rooms and other stuff going. But for me,
Nice.
yeah, I put I put no effort into my little contribution there. I just
Just like
I'm gonna
plug in
be
a
in this
phone, here you
Discord
go.
server. Stop on
Uh-huh.
by. We'll talk hobby. We'll get some stuff done, and I got some stuff done, so it was a success. Now,
That's really cool.
yeah, yeah.
I've never heard of that before. That's a pretty awesome idea, actually. I know people do a lot on Discord, going back and forth and using those chats for like hangouts and stuff. But doing an entire convention, was it like a lot of people, or was this like a pretty small, kind of like a podcast community?
It seemed pretty big. So, Dan's had, I don't know, a couple hundred episodes now of Paint All the Minis, and he does, a lot of, getting a guest on. And most of his guests are like game designers and people like that. So he's pretty well connected in the small game communities. And so he was able to pull in a lot of those folks and run game demos or run special sales or all kinds of different events and interviews and stuff. And so, for an event that was thrown together online over the course of about a month, run by pretty much one guy, I think it was, yeah, a huge
Right.
success. Um, he did charge, I think, 750 euro or pound or sterling or something. He charged a little bit of money to get access to this, just so that everyone participating was a little bit invested in it, and it,
Yeah.
yeah, people seem to have fun. And like I said, I wasn't super involved. I had been on the podcast once a while back, so he's like, "Hey, you want to do something for this?" And I needed to get some Space Marines built, and I didn't have any better ideas, so I said, "Yeah, I'll sit in a room. We'll do a hobby hangout." And I haven't done enough hobby hangouts in general. I should do more, but
Hmm.
this was good. I had no idea how many people were going to show up. I was worried that either no one would show up, or
Right.
actually even worse than no.
Just you in a room by yourself
Yeah.
for 6 hours, scraping
Actually,
old lines.
possibly worse than that is if one person shows up. Then,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
a handful is like the perfect number because you can everybody can be
Hmm.
talking and listening to each other, and you get to know each other a little bit, and there's no, or at least not too many awkward silences. And if there is an awkward
Hmm.
silence, there's four or five other people to jump in there and fix that situation. So, and that's about what happened. There was about a handful of people that stopped in, and that was perfect. I was worried there would either be, one other person and we wouldn't get along very well, but they wouldn't leave. That was
Yeah. You can't do anything about it.
right, right. That was one possibility. And then the other possibility is like somehow the word gets out and everybody has nothing to do that day and everybody wants to hang out with Brent, and then there'd be
Hmm.
like 100 people in the server and I'd have no idea what to do with that either. So like I
I
said,
guess,
yeah,
yeah, at that point it'd be like, well, here's like your podium, and now you have to speak, and
right, right, right.
hopefully it's something worthwhile that because it's not like anybody can answer you at that point.
Exactly.
Like,
Or
everybody be
or
talking over
you
each
ask
other.
a question to the audience and 10 people speak at once.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Right. But yeah,
Forming virtual lines.
there was a time where, I was a teaching assistant back in university and had run like discussion sections or review sessions or whatever. And a lot of times those would be optional. And so maybe some students would show up and maybe they wouldn't. And like I said, it was always kind of the weirdest thing when it would be like one person would show up. And depending on who that one person
Fill the
was,
back.
that could be a long hour.
Right.
But
Yeah.
no, this ended up being a really good experience. It sounds like PatmoCon will become a yearly thing, or it has a chance to at least. Everyone I talked to seemed to have fun. Dan did not instantly regret doing this, so
That's good. That's a good sign.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can move on from that topic. But if you are not listening to Paint All the Minis, it's a good podcast. Think about it.
Yeah. The episode that you were on was, I think, 3 or 4 months ago, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, buddy. What else? This cat's wandering around here. It looks like she might settle down here soon, but you never know. What's new with you,
Well,
Casey?
an overwhelming thing that we got in the comments was, "Don't apologize about the cats, Brent. Stop apologizing. Let them be." I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So when we're talking here, we're talking over Skype, and so we've got our camera for that. And then I also have my real YouTube recording camera to get my face as I'm talking to you. And you didn't see this, Casey, but the cat just like popped up and like looked the camera in the camera's eye for a second here. So we'll see how that all
How
edits
is that
out.
not
But
gold? It's so gold.
I'm done apologizing. All right, what's
You
new with you,
should be.
Casey? What's new with you?
Well, let's see here. So I talked a little bit last time, and I won't obviously go into too much detail about selling a pool table once again, but we did promise a third and final, piece, the end of the saga, as it were. So the pool table is no longer in my house, and I've begun construction on a new studio space. So I got a wall built. I've been doing a bunch of stuff for that, and just trying to make it like look, halfway decent. It's a legit wall. It's not gonna fall over or something. It's textured now. I gotta
Nice.
get some paint, and then once it's painted, then I'm gonna be bringing in a bunch of furniture and trying to set up like, I don't know, some kind of just really cool hobby space. Because it's right now I'm in a very small like 5 by 5 walk-in closet, and that gets old real quick. I've always kind of considered myself uh, like a cave troll, maybe that's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lord of the Rings style, hunched over a desk. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
um and being in like a separate space in a closet that's, it's got a door that I can close, it just kind of shuts everything else out, has been really great. But as I've gotten more things, more minis, the space has started to get smaller and smaller. And now I've got, an extension cord running from the outside into here, powering an iMac and a bunch of lights and an airbrush setup and all of these things that at any moment could just blow a circuit. So it's time to move out of the closet.
Well, that's the start of a whole new thing. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you got a clean slate here. You've got just a new room that you're setting up for yourself. What you can put whatever you want in there, I assume. And
Yeah. So it's essentially a blank slate. I can do whatever I want with it.
nice. Okay. So for me, for my hobby area, I have a desk that's just for all my painting stuff, and then I have a separate desk which is where I'm sitting right now for talking to the camera. Most people don't need that, but you and I, it's a handy thing to have. And then I've
Hmm.
at one point I had my painting. I was doing that right at kind of my main computer desk, my home office desk. That's where I did my painting. And it's only been fairly
Mhm.
recently that I've started using a second desk that is just my painting desk to have a dedicated, this is where I go and I sit and I paint, and I can have, my mess all out there however I want it, which is nice.
Right.
But so yeah, do you have a plan for the furniture in your painting room?
Well, like most people who shop for furniture, you end up looking around at a lot of different places and you find that most things are quite expensive. Like, a nice desk is, three or $400 generally for something really nice. Now, I've been using uh I got a Craigslist desk that is fairly inexpensive, but it's real wood and it's lasted me. I mean, I was using it as a normal desk before, so it's been around for like 10 years
Hmm.
and that's still going strong. But, being on the YouTube side of things, I want it to look a little nicer than that. This desk is beaten up quite a lot. So I went to IKEA, like most people, which, you know, we all love IKEA, right? That's a thing.
Listeners, on previous episodes, if you'll remember, we disparaged buying furniture at IKEA, but yeah, here we are. We're not going to
Yeah,
apologize. I'm going to judge Casey a little bit, but we're not going to apologize.
I expected as
Yeah,
much.
yeah. So you're putting at least two desks in there then, or what's the plan?
Yeah,
What's the
so
room
I have
layout?
like a main. Yeah, there we go. We'll start there. That's a good idea.
Yeah. What do you
So
got?
it's basically a big square that's 12 by maybe 13 or 14. So it's a nice space. It's a nice size space. And on one of the wall that I'm building is going to be kind of like the backdrop wall, and I'm going to put an 8-foot desk across that wall, and
Ooh,
there'll be storage underneath and up kind of on the side, like getting some pegboard stuff that have little bins and hooks and different things that I can put paints in. If anything, IKEA is good for that. Like the little things that are kind of cheap no matter where you go. Like the little bins are like $3 for three of them. So
are you
even if
gonna
they
have
break, that's not the end of the world.
are you gonna have just an 8-foot sheet of pegboard against the wall for your 8-foot desk? Is that what's going on here?
No, so I'm gonna use the wall up against the desk as kind of a background for the video. So like if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see Brent's got some paint racks and a couple of fantastic paintings on the wall right behind him. So something like that, not obviously paintings that are that cool, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try something. Um, have something nice that's just it essentially gives me some depth because that's really what I'm missing in this closet. Is I use my phone to film and it's just the stuff behind me. There's not a lot of space to move around, so it looks the same all the time. I don't really get to move around. So if I have, the nice 8-foot wall, the reason it's 8 feet is because there's actually like a door on one side that finishes on the other side of the room. So that's why it's specifically 8 feet. But yeah, I just want something a little bit nicer that isn't a closet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna be a good background. That's gonna be a good background. And so when you're sitting and talking to the camera, you're gonna have that wall in the background, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And
And
then
I'm pretty excited about that because it's a big change.
yeah, that's awesome. So okay, so what pieces of furniture need to go in this room? So if this is your hobby room where you're also making videos, what pieces of furniture need to go in there? You've got a big long desk. Is that where you're doing your actual painting work?
Probably, because it's long enough, I'm gonna have some separate stations, and maybe this would be just a good time to get into in general what makes a good hobby space.
Yeah.
Because I mean, because we do YouTube, it's pretty specific. Like most people don't need an 8-foot long desk in their hobby space. Like, I think I was saying another time, like I paint in an 11 by 17 area in kind of, I sit at the desk and paint at this little area. So, realistically, you don't need that much space. But, let's start at the top, I suppose, and we'll just go over some of the things that just make a good hobby space.
Sure. I mean, the bare minimum is it is really nice if you don't have to constantly be packing and unpacking. So, okay, so the
Right.
very bare minimum is you have a kitchen table and nobody is currently eating, so you can put out some paper, you can put out some paints, and you can do a little painting. That is call that level one. That's where you start out.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just coming to me now, so let's see if we can keep going here. What's
All
what?
right. Yeah. Let's
All
keep it
right,
going.
what's level two,
Level
Casey?
one. Level two would be if you had a bedroom or a space to the side where, maybe a writing desk that closed up that you could open and no one would bother, but you could put it away from time to time. It didn't move. You didn't have to move your stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
Did
that's
you
that's
say
level
a
2.
writing desk like those terrible old antiques that are like a 2 foot wide
Yes,
desk
and
that
the reason it comes to mind is because at my parents' house they had a writing desk in the corner and it was old, but it was the perfect thing. Now okay, I didn't use it because I'm pretty sure I would have been murdered
right?
if I got paint on it.
Was it also slanted? Like we're talking about the like
No.
1900 like tiny
Oh yeah,
desk where
yeah.
somebody takes a quill out and writes to their pen pals, right?
Yeah, so I mean they come in a variety, but essentially it's like a 2.5 or 3 foot wide desk. It's the face of it is slanted so that
Mm-hmm.
when you open it, it's kind of this open box, but then you have a platform.
Yep.
So you could fit like a typewriter in there. You could pull it out. You could write on it, whatever, writing desk. So if you had like a little light or something, you could keep everything inside of there. It would be great.
Okay, so the next step up is an obscure piece of furniture that you could
Hmm,
technically
hmm.
paint minis on. I was a little worried when
Maybe
you
that's like
started
level
doing,
12.
yeah,
I
you
don't know.
started saying level two, you have your separate bedroom, and what do you have in your separate bedroom? Oh, okay, so you're going way too fast. Like that is separate bedroom for your painting. That's somewhere around like five or six, but let's
Well, see, that's exactly what happened though. I said separate bedroom, and then I thought in my head like, no, no, no,
no,
that
no,
doesn't
tone
make
it
any
back.
sense.
Tone it
That's
back.
that's way too far up the list. So I had to backpedal, and immediately I thought of writing desk
Okay.
because it makes perfect sense.
Backpedal level two is you
Mm,
have
mm, mm.
one dedicated desk for your hobby, but it
Yep,
is not a very cool desk. That's what
right.
you you
I
you
wouldn't
have
consider a
you
writing
have
desk a very cool desk.
yeah, you got a couple of square feet that's all yours. You know, other stuff is going on in that room. It's not a hobby room. Maybe
Hmm,
it's a den, it's a spare bedroom, maybe there are children running around, balls bouncing around. But
hmm,
you've got this
hmm.
little desk that's yours. That's level two. All right. What's level three?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to jump onto level 3 at this point? Level 2 is so terrible.
Yeah, we don't need to focus on level two. Like if you're listening to this podcast, I mean, you're making do with what you got, but you're thinking big.
Yeah.
Like maybe you're at level one or level two right now, but you're not thinking of how to achieve level one, level two. You're thinking about how to
Well,
achieve
there
level three, four, or five. That's what you're thinking about. You're dreaming big.
right.
Yeah.
Right. But there are multiple levels within each level
Okay.
because
Sub
you could
sub
be at
level
level
two A.
1.
Let's go.
I'm going back even further. Let's go sub level 1A. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's your stuff. You just have your stuff. Where do you even put that stuff? Is it in like some Tupperware or something? Or maybe you have like a painting travel case cuz they make these. They're not very expensive. It's $100. Real nice, made out of wood, it's got LEDs in it, storage for everything. So sub level in level 1 there is a nicer version of a travel case, and
Mm.
that's your painting studio.
This
Mhm.
is a fair point. I mean, there are plenty of people who do not have a spare desk to be doing their hobby, but if they have a convenient way to lay out everything that they need, pack it up real
Mhm.
nice, you know, unfurl and refurl when they need to get that hobby done. That's the way to make the most out of level one, I think. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I've always thought about making myself a nice little travel kit. Go to go and sit at the game store and do some painting, or there's those pictures of people with those nice kits sitting at the mall
Yeah,
food
yeah.
court or in Taco Bell. Have you seen this on like Instagram
The
or
mall food court.
Facebook? No, seriously, like
I mean, out of any place that I would actually choose, I think that would be the last place I'd want to go. Like, let's head to the mall, guys, and paint some minis. Like, if we don't get ridiculed enough, like,
are you
that's not
familiar with the
helping.
term power move? Because that is a power move. You
Mm,
you go and you
mm.
sit on
I mean, that is one way to look at it.
you order your Panda Express, you go and you get comfy, you click, 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 you open up the case, pull out your
Hmm,
water
hmm.
cup, pour a little water in there from your melty ice from your Panda Express, and the more I think
Some
about this,
ice.
the less fun this sounds, but you could do it, and it would be a good Instagram
I got
post,
soy
and
sauce on my mini.
there's that weird guy looking at you from across the room. Don't worry about that guy. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, I suppose there's always the one guy who will look over and just be like, "Really? I want to be that guy. I want that stuff."
Now, if you did this,
Like, I get to eat panda.
what would your T-shirt say? If you were planning on going and sitting at the
Ooh.
mall painting
Hmm.
minis, what would your T-shirt say?
Um. Okay, only because it's the most recent one I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Not at the mall, but just in general. Like I saw it on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
Was the choose your weapon dice T-shirt? And it has a bunch of different dice on it, and it's just that's what it says on the front. So that's definitely the shirt you'd be wearing.
Nope, you're right. You're right. Okay, all right. I like that. That's level 1.5 right there, or that's level 0. I don't
One and
know.
a half. Yeah, you're taking it outside the house,
Yeah,
right?
if you're not even in your own home, if you're just in a public space, like causing a
Mm-hmm.
scene, yeah, that's
Because you would be causing a scene, wouldn't you?
right.
Check out these space marines.
If mall security adds you to their list, like okay, we can do better on our hobby space, I think. Yeah. If
Right.
if you are no
So that's
longer
level
allowed to
one,
go to the mall,
subsection
if
one.
you are no longer allowed to go to the mall and you need to set up a
Mm-hmm.
hobby space at home, level 1, kitchen table, unpack, set it up when you need to, put it back away when you need to eat dinner. Level 2,
Yeah.
you got yourself a little desk. It's set up the way you want it. It's not perfect, but it's yours. It's not much, but it's
Right.
mine.
Right. And no one's necessarily gonna mess with it.
Now I think level 1 is also somewhere around like you've got your computer desk, you've got your home office desk. Level 1 is somewhere like kind of sharing. That's
Mm-hmm.
also your painting space. And this is where I was for a long time. Um, kind of between level 1 and level 2 there where I had my computer where, just my main computer, and then I also at that desk often had set up a wet palette, some paints, and some minis, and that would just get more and more and more crowded and dirty and disgusting and really hard to do anything with. Um, but that's where a lot of folks start, and then you can think about how to get better from there.
Mm-hmm. So then what makes that jump then from level two to level three?
I think level 3 is having a painting desk that you are proud of, that has the space that you need, that
Mm-hmm.
has the storage and organization that you need. It's got the lighting. It's yours, and you really feel like this is the place to go and get stuff done. Like you feel level 3 is where you start feeling real pride in your workspace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a separate. It's still level two ish, right? But something that you've put some time and effort into. You've got the double lights. I guess that's a good time to mention it. A couple of lights on each
Mm-hmm.
side to
Mm-hmm.
minimize shadows. You know, um, maybe you've got some paint racks on the desk, some hobby zone or otherwise type of paint racks. I mean, that's where I kind of hit that next level. I had a desk that, that cheap Craigslist desk I was talking about. And it was just kind of shoved in a corner for a long time. And I had a couple of racks and a bunch of paints, and it was like my mess, and it was fine. But it was still in a public area. Like there was still a 2-year-old running around that, all of my stuff
Ah,
was in danger, you know. But I
yeah.
felt good about my desk.
Yeah, okay. So this level system is going to start to break down when we need to like negotiate whether that's
Yeah.
public or private or yeah, okay. So we can start to
Sure.
abandon
Maybe
that
too many
and
subsections and
this was never a good system to begin with, but um no, I think we can say for sure that the difference between level 2 and level 3 of home painting setup is the length of the desk that you have available to you. Less than 3 feet, less than 1
Okay.
meter, that's a level 2 desk. Now, above 3
Right,
feet, above
right.
a meter, that's a level 3 desk. You now have the room to actually choose what gets stored or displayed or put on your desk to make your painting experience better. You've got some room to think about customization, and so I think that's what we wanted to talk about today. If you are lucky
Yeah.
enough to have a dedicated hobby space, how do you set that up? How do you make the most of it? And how do you make it a fun place to go and hang out and get some stuff done?
Yeah. So then I guess the we can make like a fairly safe assumption and say that you have the paints. You know that you need, water cups and probably some paper towels and very specific things to this hobby. So we're going to assume that you have those things and they're just strewn on your desk. They're just thrown around. So what else do you need in order to kind of level that up? And I don't want to say so much as level 4, but
No, just
level
a
three and a
solid
half.
level 3. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for me, I think the biggest kind of step up from just having a desk was having a decent light. Because for a long time it was just flip the lights on in the room and get your soft orange glow going and hope for the best. And it wasn't until I got an actual like some LEDs, to put over the top of my miniature that I started to really see what I was painting.
Hmm.
And I think that's a really important thing to have is, if you can get one light, get like one of those LED swing arm type of lights. Usually have like the magnifying glass on top. Those are basically useless, but the lights are great. And if you can't do that, then finding like a really bright LED bulb and putting it in one of those super cheap desk lamps kind of achieves the same thing, and it's still going to be a huge step up.
Hmm. Yeah. For for a while, I definitely was kind of collecting and assembling all of the like desk lamps and stuff that I had, you know,
Hmm.
acquired over the years. You get your standard standing target lamps with like 3 light bulbs on them, that sort of thing. So I had a couple of
Hmm.
those arranged near my level 3 desk, and I had a couple of standard desk lamps with an LED screwed in there. That's good. Um, and then I bumped it up to actually getting the like adjustable LED lamps, the ones that actually have the
Mm.
rows of LEDs. Um, and those are quite common these days and reasonably affordable. The I had a Tautronics one, but the what I liked about that is you can control the brightness and the color temperature of the light that's coming out of there.
Yeah.
And when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or wherever and you're shopping for light bulbs and you're standing there at soft white, warm white, daylight, and you're under the fluorescence in the big box store, you have no idea what's going to look good. So it's kind of nice to be able to flip back and forth with those
It's
options
very
when you're
true.
actually there in your space with the lighting that your space has. Um, and it's always good advice to one have enough light for yourself when you're painting, and so you can study your minis, but also to be looking at your minis in different color light and in different light
Hmm.
environments so that you see so that you see your mini in different lights, so that you see if you're actually, achieving the effect that you want to, if it actually looks
Yeah.
as good or as bad as you think it's coming out.
Well, something that really helped me was, and I don't remember who said it. I want to say, I don't know. I don't want to say. It was some painter guy, right? Some savant essentially.
Hmm.
But he would always take his miniatures to the most naturally lit area in whatever room he was in as
Hmm.
possible. Like not even under a light. I mean, he would paint under lights, but then he would always every 10 minutes or so go and check in sunlight because you're getting the most natural reflection of those colors that you possibly can. It's not artificially made with LEDs or whatever.
Hmm.
And that really gives you a sense of, where everything is kind of coming, how everything is coming across. So if you have a window in your room, you know, check that every so often. But having those adjustable lights is huge because I've noticed that when I have really really bright like white LED lights, my miniatures come out a little bit darker than they should
Mm,
because I can see the miniature so well that like the highlights look really bright. The whiter I go, it looks whiter because it's so bright and it's being reflected at me.
sure.
But in any normal viewing situation, you're not going to see that. So I've worked for a while, a long while on many miniatures, putting highlights here and there and textures and all this stuff. And then you take it outside or, out in the other room or something, you can't see half of it. It's all super dark and doesn't look right.
Hmm.
So having an adjustable light like that, I like that suggestion a lot because you can start to kind of change that and see what's going on and how those colors, are actually being reflected in different situations.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so let's see. Get yourself a decent light. That's part of a good setup. What else? What's next? What else do you have on your desk?
Well, right now I've got a couple of they're like, what do you call that? They're shelves, they're floating shelves, but they're specifically for pictures, like in frames that you set in the shelf. It has a little lip on it, kind of leans back against the wall, right?
Hmm.
So I can fit two Citadel pots back to back in those, and they're like 3.5 feet wide. So I've got a couple of those right in front of me, and that has pretty much all of my paint on it, and I can see all the colors clearly, and I can just grab and pick. I mean, I think that the solution that you've come up with for that is a little better. You've got the nail polish racks. You can see everything displayed very nicely. But having something that shows you the products that you have in an efficient enough manner will help you because then you can just grab for those things, on a whim. If I need this color, I need to grab that color, and you know where it is. You can see it.
Yeah, yeah. So for me at my level 3 desk, for me the most important thing is like a little bit of space to actually do anything. And then depending on how big your desk is, then it's about how to maximize the storage and accessibility of all of the tools and supplies that you're going to need. Um so I do, like Casey was saying, I do have some nail polish racks, and you can get those in like clear acrylic plastic, or you can get those in what I have is like a iron or steel kind of mesh. Um, and ladies or dudes who have their nail polish, like a lot of these folks have tons of different colors of acrylic paint on nail polish, which is strikingly similar to the collections that we end up with our acrylic paints.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And it's always nice when you can find those more popular hobbies to help you do something that you want to do. So if
Yeah.
yeah, if a storage option exists for, you know, niche hobby paints versus a storage solution for super common nail polish hoarders, then there's going to be some good options for those nail polish racks. They're going to be normally reasonably priced, and you can find something that's going to work for your workspace. So behind me on the wall where I'm sitting right now are two nail polish racks that can hold about 100 paints each. And so they stick out maybe 2 inches from the wall. You nail them into the wall, stick out a couple inches from the wall, and single layer deep, I have a couple hundred paints behind me on the wall here. Um, so this is actually not where I normally do most of my painting. So those racks are actually not on my level 3 painting desk right now. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Everybody should know that Brent is like, he's like level 9 painting mage or something, It's way up there on the levels system
that's
that we've
that's
just made
true.
up.
That's true. So just real quick, the room where I'm in right here, I have a desk for my computer where I go to sit and watch Netflix and edit videos. I have a desk for painting, and then I have a desk where I'm sitting right now, which is kind of talking head stuff, podcast stuff, and for some of the YouTube videos, this is like my big workspace for doing some big project. But the normal painting desk, where if you watch Goobertown Hobbies YouTube videos and you see, a close-in shot of some hands painting a minis, that's done at my level 3 hobby desk, which is a 5 foot by 2 foot desk that I got from Goodwill. I got it from Goodwill a couple states ago. I got it from Goodwill, and it's been traveling with me for 10 years here. And it's an older, solidly built plywood desk that many memories on this thing, but it's a solid used desk got from Goodwill for $20. I've refinished it, but since I refinished it, I've gotten many paint stains on it, many inks
Mhm.
and washes have all bled into that wood. But yeah, so my main painting desk, and that's what I'm talking about for the most part in this episode. It's 5 feet long. And for me, I have nice LED lights on it now. And at first, those were lamps, like desk lamp style. And now I've gone, you know what? Now it's a level 4 desk. All right. So a little,
Lies.
maybe on the YouTube channel here, we'll flash up a picture. But um, recently I did add some, like an aluminum framework on top of this desk where I can hang lights and
Mhm.
also my video camera. So maybe it's a level 4 desk now. It's a 5 feet long desk.
Well, that's where this starts to break down, right? Is when you
Yeah,
start to
because
add YouTube into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it is still useful for just a man sitting there painting minis. My lights no longer take up room on my desk because I have, hanging lights essentially that light up my mini without taking up precious space on that desk. Okay, so
Mhm.
I've got
Mhm.
that. And again, where it breaks down from YouTube, instead of having like the back wall have paint racks or something like that, I have a draped piece of poster board because I use that as the backdrop for when I'm filming painting. Um, Now, normally the back wall is a great place to have little paint racks or whatever storage that you're going with, tiny little drawers where you put knickknacks, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
But in my case, I have a poster board that takes up a lot of the back of the desk. And I also have a monitor so that I can double check when I'm painting on camera that things are in focus and in frame.
Yeah.
So in that respect, my desk isn't as good as a lot of other folks because I do not have my paint racks right there at my desk. My paint racks are across
Right.
the room was where this started. So it's a question of making sure that you have enough space, but also of seeing if you have your paints and your tools and your accessories and your putties all accessible to you. And so in my case, my most of my paints are on the other side of the room, but I do actually have a pretty good system in the drawers themselves of my desk of tools and stuff. So like one drawer has one of those drawer dividers in it, like drawer organizers. So kind of like where you put your spoons and your forks and your knives in the kitchen, except it's like a little
Hmm.
wooden grid work where you're supposed to put pencils and paper clips, but I put, you know, green stuff and
The
X-Acto
important stuff.
blades and yeah.
Who needs silverware? Yeah. So essentially, okay, then in this case, your room, because you've got three main desks and you do different things on each. Your room is considered like a level 9 room, but the
Yeah,
desks are at varying
yeah.
levels and with different sub levels in between. It all depends, really. Yeah, we're gonna have to write this
We may
down
have
at
gone
some
too
point.
far in a few places, Casey.
Too many levels.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
entirely
My
possible.
level 3.5 desk within my level 5 hobby room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you do have
Oh
more than one
man.
desk, it becomes a higher level hobby space. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, your overall space starts to level up a little bit. Like right now, my hobby space, while being separate and my own, is very uncomfortable most of the time. So it's a very low on the hobby level index of desk spaces.
So
You know,
so is everything in easy reach for you where you are? Like from your wheelie chair
yeah,
there, can you reach everything in your closet?
yes. I mean, technically, I can reach everything in there. So maybe bumps it up a little in the subdivision part, the sub levels, but like there's some other issues, like there isn't actual ventilation. I have to open the door and that opens up to other areas with windows and another outside door in order for me to airbrush, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a whole extra step to get that done properly.
Okay, we'll talk about kind
Yeah.
of kind of comfort and easy use here in a moment, but let's get through storage here.
Mm-hmm.
So my desk, um, it's an older wooden desk that actually does have pretty nice drawers in it. So I've got the drawers above my
Mm-hmm.
legs, and then to the left and the right of my legs, drawers everywhere. So one for tools, the one right above my legs is kind of where I put kind of current half finished projects that don't need to be right on the desk right now. And then to the side I've got my putties, and then the drawer below that I've got, a bunch of basing supplies. So I actually do have a lot of stuff right there handy but not in the way. And so I really like that about my
Mm-hmm.
current setup. Um and as mentioned before, that I happen to have my paint racks nailed to the wrong wall, but other than that, it's a pretty
It
good setup.
looks nice though.
Yeah. So so my paint racks are nailed to the wrong wall, but when I go to start a project, in a perfect world, starting with a clean desk, starting with it
Yeah.
neatened up and a pretty good empty work area there. I will bring from the other side of the room, I'll bring the paints that I think I'm going to need for that project. And I also bring one 16 paint Vallejo set. So I bring
Mm-hmm.
like a starter paint set that'll have pretty much one of all the colors, and then I'll bring a couple of specific colors that I'm really thinking about for that project. And with that stuff alone, I can normally just be sitting there and having pretty good color options and be pretty content with what I have and not need to get up and go hunting for stuff.
Hmm.
So I mean
It brings up an interesting. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, are you going to say it brings up an interesting point of how many paints you actually need access to at your level 3 hobby desk?
I wasn't. I mean, I was kind of gonna say that, but in a roundabout sort of way.
Ah,
Yes. I was gonna say it brings up an interesting point of like how different we are, and a lot of people are at actually using the stuff that you have on hand. So yeah, whether or not you even need that many paints, or is it something that like you personally plan out before you even start a project? Because for me, since I have all my paints right in front of me,
Mhm.
I almost never plan out a project. Like I have kind of a rough idea in my head, but I don't pick out the paints beforehand. I just go, okay, I want this stuff to be green, and then I say, okay, well, I've got a very wide variety of green. I
Mhm.
like this one today. So, okay, what do the shadows need to be for that color? What do the highlights need to be for that color? And I can either, mix them or pick them out if I actually have them in front of me. So it just brings up an interesting point, like I said, of like how many paints do you actually need if you're obviously getting stuff done picking out a very small handful of paints.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I think that fascinates me a little
I
bit.
still certainly am willing to stand up, walk across the room, and bring back three different
Sure.
shades of brown to get my brown and my highlights on. That's not a
Yeah.
problem, but so it is interesting how my when I start a project, I'll start with a figure, and one of those 16 paint Vallejo sets on my desk, and maybe I know like, okay, I want to base coat this with a lot of turquoise, and so I'll bring over like a trio of blue greens from my main paint set. Um, one of my nail polish racks behind me here is mostly Army Painter paints because I do have the full line of Army Painter, and so I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm gonna use a lot of turquoise on this guy, so I'll grab my Hydra turquoise and my Wizard's robe and my Toxic Mist, and I'll head over to level 3 painting desk with those three paints. Pull out my 16 set Vallejo war color paint or whatever, and that you know that collection there will get me pretty far along, and I might have to stand up to go back and get my Agrax Earthshade or something like that. But
Right.
and so I've definitely fallen into this situation where I mean, this can't be unique, but like where my table just gets more and more messy the farther I go into a project. They keep being like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this guy's got a potion on his belt. Let's make that a red health potion. Let's go back to the rack here and get a couple of choices for that. And so then little bottles of paint just start to accrue on the desk until I finally get to the point where, and it's normally once I say, okay, the model's done, take him off my paint handle, and then clean my desk, and that's actually a lot of fun for me is going back and putting the little bottles of paint back on their racks on the other side of the room, in color coded order and
Mm-hmm.
everything. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's an odd satisfaction of putting everything back where it belongs, like paint wise and tools and all of these things, cleaning out the water pot that you've been using. It's got fresh to the
Mm.
brim fresh water. It's just like there is an interesting, nice feeling to that. So I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
part of
great.
the ritual of finishing a project. It's like this mini is
Hmm.
done. Not only is he going to sit in my IKEA Detolf viewing cabinet, I am also going to put all my paints away. I'm going to either empty my paint water, or I'm going to refresh my paint water. And yeah, there's a nice ritual to it. It's nice.
One thing I should mention, I have in my hobby space next to the closet that I'm in, connected, is a bathroom with a sink and a shower.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it's like the most convenient thing to not have to really go anywhere to get fresh water.
Mmm. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
So that's got to be like a level 6 at least. It's bumping it up a little.
Well, I mean, what would be even better is, you had like a utility sink near you so you can like go and brush off the
Mm-hmm.
minis that are coming out of the super green in the sonicator, you pull those out of the sonicator and give those a good scrub in your utility sink. Utility sink would raise
Yeah,
the quality of any room at least one level.
that's true.
Yeah, but we're
For sure. Of any room, regardless of hobby.
so much stuff you can do with one of those, yeah. But so
Yep.
so Me, I always enjoy setting up a good desk, and this is for work or for my home computer desk or for my hobby desk. I really
Hmm.
like the idea of having that, perfect little workspace that's all mine and it's optimized and everything's right there, but it looks good and it feels good. I love that. Like, um, no,
Yeah,
on a computer desk, at least at first, my cables are all managed and organized and stuff,
at
and
first.
that lasts through like a couple cycles of plugging and unplugging USBs, and then it's just all a complete mess again. But I love the
Hmm.
idea of having like a little cable organizer and having, just on the corner of your desk having your cell phone charger port there and, one cup with your pencils and pens. I love the idea of a
Hmm.
well set up workstation and whether that's any type of workstation. I love that. And
Yeah.
for me, I definitely prioritize the amount of workspace that's there while still trying to have like little handy things available. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so it's like cell phone charger is actually a pretty good one. Like I have a Samsung that charges remotely or wirelessly, and so I love that the little cradle
Yeah.
that you put the cell phone in. Um, Do you have so I guess where I'm going with this is do you have like knickknacks on your desk, like painted minis, memorabilia, spoons? I don't know. Do you
Spoons.
have like
I have
decorative stuff
no
that
spoons.
takes up
No.
space?
No, actually, I don't. Oh, okay. Well, that's not entirely true. So I do have like a little poster that is not attached to the wall. That's like a cardboard poster. You know, Magic Fat Packs, the boxes.
There are so
You
many
know what I'm
different
talking about.
magic
Come on now.
packs. No, I mean, is this something
No,
that's
like the specifically, it's like a 10 booster pack box. Comes with like a bunch of lands, and
okay? Yeah,
it's like a little starter
I
kit.
actually do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the box is wrapped in a cardboard piece that has, the logo, whatever set, but you open it
Uh,
up and it has like a full nice piece of art
mm-hmm.
on the inside. So I have one of those that's undone and it like sits behind my little like paint shelf so that I don't drop anything down behind the desk. That is the only thing that I would consider a trinket. Everything else on my desk is specific for work. I don't keep anything on my desk that is not for work, essentially.
Well, I mean, minis actually would be the perfect little trinket for, an orc sits at my desk workplace or, sits
Yeah.
sits in the
Yeah.
office on my desk, a war boss or something like that. And so
Hmm.
people like us with access to war bosses that are painted up nicely, we could be really prone to just having Hummels, covering our entire desk and
Uh-huh.
just be completely worthless as an actual workspace. So I was wondering where you were on that.
That's very true. Well, when I had an actual desk, that's pretty much what it looked like. When I
Yeah.
used to go to a job
Mm-hmm.
and do working,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had a nice desk, and it had the computer on there, and there were trinkets and things that I'd found and all sorts of whatever, like little figures everywhere. So, yeah, yeah, when it was something I didn't care about at all. Like I spent a majority of my time like looking for things to put on that desk. Yes.
Really? Okay, that's interesting to me. I've always liked the
Mhm.
idea of having a couple little personal knickknacks there at your desk. And when I worked at a place that had like a thumbtack board behind the desk, sometimes
Mhm.
put cards or your fat packs or whatever tacked to the board. Like
Yeah.
you open up those old Star Trek collecting cards and you get a Worf or something. You put him in a sleeve and tack the sleeve to the thumb board. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Worf.
But if you've already got tons of bottles and brushes and picks and putties and gels,
Mhm.
there's no room for knickknacks.
That's true.
No,
It feels like that
that
anyways. Like I feel like I don't have room for fun things.
yeah, if there's sprues everywhere, for me, yeah, I feel like there's no room to be displaying this war boss. This war boss needs to go back where he
Mhm.
belongs, and he does not belong on the painting desk because What?
Well, there's a danger to that,
Yeah,
right? What if something happens?
there's no room for him, but also Agrak spills on this desk like every other week. So
Yeah, exactly. What if he catches a little? Like,
yeah,
that's hours of work gone,
yeah, I was
or at least slightly darker.
yeah, I was flicking blood at something entirely different, but old Gork over there
Yeah.
caught some of it. So I guess it works. I guess it works. Not intentional, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're just appropriate time and a place for some of these models. Like, yeah, it's not a bad thing if you're painting with blood for the blood god and you just happen to have a whole bunch of orcs on your desk. Like, overspray doesn't matter at that point. It only adds to your awesome orc collection. But anything else, yeah, you probably want to put those on a shelf somewhere. So I suppose that does bring up a little bit of do you display stuff in your workspace that isn't necessarily on your desk?
My desk right now, no. The now, if you're watching the video behind me, I do have a couple of poorly drawn pictures of cats, but that's more of a YouTube thing than how I actually like to set up my painting desk. If I was optimizing my painting desk, the wall opposite where I sit would absolutely be for storage and all that stuff. If there was room
Mm-hmm.
to be tacking something up there, I'd be tacking a color wheel up there. Maybe maybe a list or something of like a to-do list, or I don't know. There
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a perfectly set up workspace that only has the things that you really need. So I'm thinking about what's on
Yeah.
my space right now. I do have a Dremel, like a little charging station for my Dremel if I want to be pinning minis or
Okay. Yeah.
something like that. I've tried it a few times with the sanding attachments to try to get rid of mold lines and stuff. Less
That could go
success.
wrong real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have, um, an iron constitution to even attempt that, depending if you like the mini or not. But,
Right.
but so mostly it's useful if I'm, pinning feet or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I do have that set up and plugged in, and so there is the question of, electrical outlets and what in our hobby actually needs to be charged, which is a little bit
Yeah.
different for you and I since we do the YouTube thing. But even
Yeah.
so, having your cell phone, or if you want to have a computer there at your desk for watching The Office while you're painting or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
As you do. Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like like right now in my space, everything is running off of pretty much a single, strip of power. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm taking up as much as I possibly can. Um, and while that is a little different than most people, I have the standard stuff. I've got a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some lights. I mean, there's already that's three plugs, right?
Yeah,
Or
at
for me
least
at least, I
at
have two
least.
lights,
Yep.
one on each side.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I have another larger light that is above me. So there's another one that's four. Like it adds up really quick. So, even if you're not bringing in a bunch of stuff, if you don't have a Dremel and you don't have, an airbrush, whatever, like you're going to need probably two of your regular wall outlets or, a nice large power strip
Mm-hmm.
to keep everything going.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, that only gets more and more as you get deeper into the hobby too. I mean, like you said, you have a Dremel. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's got to be put somewhere, plugged in or charged.
Yeah, I was thinking about what else I have there, and actually, the one thing that I have on the floor at my feet under my desk is a paint mixer. I have one of the Vortexer paint mixers, so it's a
Oh
really
yeah.
heavy thing where
Mm-hmm.
you push the bottle of paint down on the top of the Vortexer, and it vortexes around and mix up the paint reasonably well. The one I have was like an old laboratory mixer, which makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's quite the perfect action for mixing paint, but it works. Paint's a little bit thicker. The
It works.
vortex the
Yeah.
vortexer is meant to be swirling around like liquids like water, buffer, and whatever. But
Right. Yeah.
blood, I don't know. The
Yes.
Yeah, so
Blood.
that's just one more thing that like what I consider to be an essential that I need right there at my desk. My paint mixer needs to be at my desk. Need to be able to plug in my cell phone there. Need to have the Dremel. Need to have your cup of brushes. Need to have pretty large a number of things. So it is
Hmm.
a fun little challenge to get the organization just right and to really make it your own place and to be an enjoyable place to work. Yeah.
Well, something I find fascinating. Like, I really like when I'm in a Facebook group for whatever Warhammer thing, and somebody's like, "Oh, show me your desk setup,"
Hmm.
and it's always like one of the big hitters on any of those groups. So 200 people comment in the next 5 minutes, and you can just scroll through for like a good hour and just see a couple hundred hobby spaces, and they're all completely different. And it is
Mm.
fascinating to see how people set up their hobby spaces. There's just priorities for certain things over other things. And yeah, it's fun to look at and kind of get some ideas for. And I mean, they're always being talked about in those groups. So I'm trying to get some more ideas in order to really push my hobby space beyond level 2 here.
Oh, so you're spending more and more
And I've
time.
already got
Yeah.
a large space. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got your
Um,
space and you've got your furniture, which is a really good start. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and the next thing will be lighting, cuz I don't really have any lights for the room yet.
Mm.
So I got to figure something out with that. I am planning on putting in a rack system that hangs off the roof. And I mean, this is obviously
That's
extremely
level.
YouTube specific.
Yeah, yes, level 4, level
um,
5. Yeah, that's getting up
yeah,
there. Yeah.
right. But a lighting rack that has dedicated power that I can hang, light boxes and cameras and microphones and whatever I need to from the ceiling, so that essentially nothing is on the floor or in my way at any given time. So that it helps for YouTube, but it also helps for small children. Like,
Oh yeah.
my actual new hobby desk is going to be kind of like bar height.
Hmm.
So it's pretty tall. So maybe like a 5 or 6 year old could get up there. I mean, obviously if there's a chair to climb on, sure, you know, but it's a little bit out of the way. So like that's pretty nice. Um, but yeah, having lights up and out of the way and everything out of the way of like reaching hands is something to think about if you have small children.
I don't have small children. I have cats, but yeah, let's
Which is like the
yeah,
same
I mean,
thing.
let's talk about, safety proofing the desks or whatever cuz there's
There you
there's
go. Okay.
there are things that you don't want broken, and there are also things that you don't want ingested. And there are also sharp objects. Like what? Let me think.
Yes.
What else do we got? What else do we got? Um.
Well, it definitely have X-Acto blades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got a few knives and yeah, I've got some sharp objects on
Yeah. Just thinking about
my desk for
what
sure.
other considerations we have there. So something I haven't mentioned yet is right next to my level 3 work desk is a like 8 foot tall cat tree. So as you may know, I have cats wandering around constantly here, and
As you may
as
know,
you
if
may
this
know,
is your first 10 minutes
right?
being here.
And something that I've learned is to keep the cats slightly out of my way for more of the time. Just give them a place to be that is not right in front of you right while you're trying to do something. So this started for
Yeah.
me. I had like a little kind of L-shaped desk previously, and so to the side of me I put a pillow. And the cat or cats would go and sit on the pillow instead of sitting on like my hands at the keyboard. And and, and kind of like, as I've reorganized my space, now I have a cat tree sitting next to my work desk. So, you know,
So a buffer is what you're saying. You need a buffer.
yeah, a sacrificial. preferred
Mm-hmm.
place for these cute little animals to be. Uh, even like where I'm sitting right now recording this, behind me on the shelf, I have a pillow to encourage the cat to be sitting on that pillow instead of sitting like between me and the microphone. Uh, you
It's a
just
good
gotta
idea.
do, yeah, for cats, you get a cat tree, you get a cat bed, you get a pillow, get a towel. They can be encouraged to be, they want to be near you, and that's cute, and that's awesome. But you don't want them to be in front of you. If you can get them to be beside you, that's ideal. Get a little kitty
Yeah.
condo or cat bed, dog bed, whatever it takes. Put it beside you. Um, it's actually a pretty simple and elegant solution to what could be a very annoying problem.
Yes. Yeah, some people can't handle the cat life. It's tough on some people, you know? Always knocking crap off the counters and breaking
Uh
things,
huh.
and
Uh huh.
most specifically is while you're sleeping and they just sit on your face like they're trying to kill you.
For me, that bothers me less. It's when I'm really concentrating on something and they wander up that is annoying. But yeah, it's part of cat life. Some
Yeah.
people can't handle it, and
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
that's the life you're gonna live, you gotta find ways around it. So I had one video, probably a couple videos now, where I've had a cat just drinking paint water like on camera. Um,
He'll be fine. It's
yeah,
okay.
they seem to be fine, but something that I started doing is using my little tin of brush cleaner soap, the little brown
Yes.
plastic tin of brush cleaner, and I put that on top of my paint water now. That's my trick now. That's like my cover for my paint water. But looking across the room
That is a good idea.
and yeah, I've fallen into that habit, and I think it's a good one. So I frequently
Yeah.
go days or even like a week or two without replacing and cleaning out my paint water. And
Mhm.
during that time, I mean, those cats are still interested in it. So put something on top,
Yes.
take those little steps to make your paint station safe for everybody in your household there. And then
Yeah.
for blades and stuff, I do try to keep those in my drawers at my desk.
Mhm.
Um, so for your new painting desk, do you actually have drawers in it, or is it legs only, or does it have
Yeah.
drawers? Yeah.
So it'll have two sets of drawers, one on each end.
Mm-hmm.
That's spans across the top, whatever, and they're pretty decently sized. And I have an extra set of drawers here. I mean, one of the nicer things that I'll be essentially getting by building this new room is that the current space I'm in right now, the closet, becomes an actual closet. So I'm gonna put a lock on the door,
Mm.
and that way nobody can come in and do anything. And I mean, so obviously a lot of the stuff's going to be out, in the open, but even now, like my knives and anything that my 3-year-old could get to, it's put up so he can't reach them. I have to stand up and get them. And like that's a little bit inconvenient for me, but a lot less so than if something were to happen. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good way to make sure that nothing actually happens. I also use a somewhat of a buffer for my child if he comes into my painting space,
Mm-hmm.
because before building the room, his like playroom is just on the other side of this closet door. So
Yeah.
I only got the little bit of actual closed off area like not that long ago. It used to be just like I said before, out in the open. So now if he comes in, I've got my palettes off to my right, and that's near the door. And he always comes in and says, "Can I paint?
Mm.
Can I paint with colors?" So I have a brush that is sitting next to me that is a garbage old brush, and I will give that to him. And behind me are primed miniatures that I'm never going to paint that I can also hand to him. And then he can stand here and enjoy. And because otherwise he'll bump right into me. Like he will run in here open the door full force and I will just get slammed with it. And of course it'll be when I'm doing like eyes or
Mm-hmm.
something. So yeah, I got to make sure that doesn't happen as much as I possibly can. So having a little bit of a buffer for a child, obviously not so much as the, easy cat play place, but, a little sacrificial mini and a couple of paints, no big deal.
I mean, I also keep a squirt bottle within easy reach of myself, so I can squirt the cats
I
if
could
they're
do that.
bad. Yeah,
Maybe I should do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I
Laser
have one. I
pointer.
have a little, those like hand squirt bottles for airbrushes.
Oh, there you go. That's
I could do
perfect.
that.
Yeah.
Just he opens the door and just go right for it. Yeah.
um, but no, that's actually a really important consideration. I don't have
Hmm.
children, but I went for that one video. I went to Canada and hung out with Neil from Real Terrain Hobbies for a collaboration, and I was in his house for a few days. And the kids were coming by while we were working and wanted to hang out with us, and we actually got them to paint their first minis in exactly that way. Neil had a pile of Reaper Bones minis in a box. Like, hey, you guys want to go paint this donkey? Like there's like a weird little orc
Ooh.
thing or something, and they loved it. They ran off and entertained themselves for a few hours, and then they came back and they wanted more donkeys and orcs and wizards and stuff. And
Right.
Neil had enough of a supply to keep us going there for a little while. And no, that's perfect. Just have a
See, that makes me want to back a Bones Kickstarter.
yeah.
Like for that reason alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
I mean,
that's one thing to
you
do
get
with your
a
pile
lot,
of
right?
shame, as you're organizing your
Right.
minis, thinking about what projects you're actually going to work on, which ones maybe you're just going to go into your kids box. you know, e-
Yeah.
End up with 100 Dark Eldar warriors from the third edition of Warhammer 40K, just all primed up and ready for your kid to play with. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
That is a good reason
Maybe
to keep
maybe a
minis.
freezer with like popsicles in there, hit them with a freeze pop and send them on their way. Like, yeah,
It is a weird thing. It's a weird skill that you do have to learn. It's like obviously pay attention to your children. I'm not saying not to pay attention to your children. I'm literally with my child 24/7. So just throwing that out there.
this episode
But
airs, it just
those
Child
little
Protective Services
distractions,
shows up.
this is what I'm trying to say. It's not like he's alone and I'm just in this room by myself and he comes in like I'm hungry
Yeah, Child
and I have to
Protective
give him a mini.
Services,
That
if
does
you're
not happen.
listening, I believe Casey is actually a competent parent.
Yes.
And yep, yep.
He's never had anything bad happen to him so far.
I don't think we've
No broken
I don't
bones.
think we've talked about anything bad happening to your kid on the channel here. So
No,
good,
I don't think
good, good,
so.
good.
Um, yeah, so far so good.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
we'll just try and keep that up for as long as possible. Um, but yeah, like being able to, no, I don't want to say trick your kid, but like give him something to do that's going to make them go do the thing so that you even have like 5 minutes. It's this whole learned skill that you end up with that you never thought you'd ever have.
Hmm.
So yeah, having that buffer is one of those things. Like, like you said, the freeze pop thing. It's like, well, hey now,
Yeah.
like I gotta limit those. There's only so many in a box, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, minis are obviously the same way, but like I can strip and reprime a mini, or just straight prime over the top of it. That's fine. He'll never know. Can't refreeze a freeze pop.
Yeah, I think it's more of an issue of how many Freezy Pops your child is eating than you know, how
Yeah,
expensive Freezy Pops are. Because they are not
yeah.
expensive.
I mean, of course, it certainly depends. It depends on what kind of garbage you're feeding your kids.
It's all just frozen Kool-Aid, isn't it?
I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on vegan frozen popsicles.
All right. So find yourself a way to get your hobby area to have a little bit of, I don't know if privacy is the right word, but find a way to
That's
insulate,
probably the
yeah,
best word. Yeah.
insulate yourself and have it really be your place. Use whatever means necessary. Yeah, that all makes sense. What else?
Yeah.
I don't know. Make sure that you have your air conditioning or your heating set up right so that you're nice and comfortable sitting there working. Make sure you have yourself a good
Hmm.
chair. Maybe get yourself some freeze pops for yourself, you know?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you have the space for a mini fridge with like a little freezer,
Ooh.
like yes, that should be in your hobby space. I mean, this is borderline like, and I hate the word, but borderline on that man cave side of things. But it is the most nerdy, non-mannish cave that you could get. But if you throw a refrigerator in there, like I'm feeling pretty good.
You know, it
Feeling pretty good
actually
about it.
it actually kind of is the variant of the man cave. Yeah. I think you're actually right.
Right.
You know,
The nerd
yeah,
cave, I
earlier you
suppose.
were talking about the Instagram post or whatever Reddit post of, share your workspace. And that was actually reminding me of,
Yeah.
I had a whole phase where I was really into PC gaming and building computers and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And so there were always the share your battle station, which was share your desk that had your
Yeah, yeah.
PC, and then, your also there were normally speakers and like a light up keyboard, and of course, the people really
Oh
going
yeah.
all out just had LEDs all over everything in just the most ridiculous
Right.
colors, which is actually just a trend in all computer parts nowadays. All computer parts just light
Yes.
up for no reason. Cases like I think I don't know if I can say the word most, but most sticks of memory now just light up red, blue, green
Really.
LEDs. Yeah, it's
That is super, super dumb.
yeah. I mean, I remember maybe 10 years ago where if your keyboard could light up in a bunch of different colors, like that was cool. And
Yeah,
I do have one of those.
that
And
was.
so, the first thing that happened was just your keys were able to light up so you could type better at night or whatever. And yeah, that's a good invention. And then they had your keys lit up, but you could choose what color they all were, and that was cool. And now just absolutely
Yeah.
everything about modern, like, quote, gaming computers is just garishly lit and constantly changing through the
They
entire
should just
rainbow.
glow.
And yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a little distracting.
but every hobby has that kind of share your battle station, share where you sit and get work done, because it
Yeah.
is an important place to us. It's a place where we want to be spending a lot of
Yes.
time, and hopefully that's, quality time. And so yeah,
Yeah.
getting your space set up the way that you want it. Is, we're not just talking about efficiency here. We're talking about this is part of your hobby, making the whole experience the way you want it to be. So
Yeah.
worth thinking about.
And I mean that obviously goes back to even if you're down at the level 1 and you have to pull that stuff out, like we all started there. I started painting on a kitchen table.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My parents' house,
Hmm.
their kitchen and some of their furniture still has paint on it.
Yes.
Like I go there, I sit in the same chair, come over for dinner, and I see the little bits of paint on and I've never gotten rid of it. It's been there.
Hmm.
Like it's a weird thing for me when I see it. It just brings me right back.
Yep.
And I'm not saying to, paint people's furniture, so you'd be like, yeah, I did that. But it is an interesting thing. It's just like we leave these kind of impressions where we go.
Hmm.
I mean, even if you go to the mall and you get that Panda Express and bust out all your Space Marines and you start getting to town on those things,
Hmm.
I mean, there's probably someone else in that food court who's like so down on what you're doing that they're just gonna want to hang out and talk to you.
Yeah. The people working at
Like,
Sapporo, like they're gonna remember that time that guy sat
yeah,
there and painted Space Marines, and
for
they're
real,
gonna be
yeah,
looking for you every shift. You leave impressions everywhere you
yeah.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how much Panda Express you eat. Then I salute you.
So we've
Yeah, so that the people at not Panda Express still recognize you.
yeah, we've been in quarantine for, a few weeks now, and I've been thinking
Oh,
about it. Like I do not eat out very much. I cook a lot of my own meals. That's
sure.
just the habit I've fallen into. but it's starting to get to the
Yeah.
point where like, man, I could really go for some, and it's just like weird cravings, the things that are popping up, like Panda. I could
Yeah.
really go for some Panda Express, like, um,
Dude, legitimately, like 3 days ago,
yeah,
I had someone deliver some Panda Express to my house.
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's awesome.
You can do that. And right
Well,
now, it's free.
oh yeah, that's a good point. So actually, you know, when the world goes back to normal, we may be approaching a point where just, people are starved for social interaction. People are starved for
It's actually
food
a very good
court.
point.
This idea of just going and painting Space Marines at the food court, we may be onto something here. We're
You know what? I think you might be right.
yeah, we might have to start something. What's the hashtag for this? What
Food hammer?
food hammer? Yeah. Well,
Something along that. Oh man. Yeah, because now that you say it, and now that we've kind of started talking about being in quarantine, which we've mostly left out of this podcast, like yeah, that sounds kind of incredible to have a wide variety of food right in front of you and a bunch of people who you can talk to, interact with, and paint minis.
yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, to circle back, I mean, we can do these, online conference calls, hobby hangouts, and perhaps we should be doing more of those, but it's not quite the same as being able to,
Sure.
I will go get
Yeah.
that 3 entree combo meal with the lo mein and the fried rice and we're gonna do triple orange chicken. Like, yeah, it's not the same.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Man, you are speaking my language. Yeah. So chow mein, double orange chicken, nothing else.
Oh, chow mein. There
Don't
you
even play
go.
around with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Panda Express. Do they have lo mein?
I don't know if they just call their chow mein lo mein, but I think they do. I mean, yeah, no, they do. They do. I'm pretty sure. Maybe
Someone will have to
are there
let us
regional
know.
differences between Panda Expresses?
I mean, there shouldn't
There
be.
should not
It
be.
comes from an entirely other region of the world. Why would it be different state to state?
I mean, it all comes from a factory and warehouse in like Arkansas
Right.
or something. So yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, yes. It's true anyways, but still that would be a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, not to my knowledge. I mean, I've been to several in a couple of states, but they all seem the same to me.
So do you eat while you're painting? Like, do you have bowl of popcorn or something, or spicy Cheetos or anything like that?
No, I don't like to distract myself,
Mm,
I guess. Like I'll throw on a TV show or podcast or something. Um, but like if there's food sitting at my desk, I won't eat it. Like I will legitimately like if it's a work day for me, like if my son's in daycare or like he's at my parents' house for the night or something, um there are legitimately days where I don't eat until I come out of my workspace and I'm like, holy crap, like I've been in there for 9 hours. I'm starving. So it's a weird thing. I like when I'm in here, I'm trying to be as focused as possible. And again, this is probably more of the like YouTube thing
mm-hmm.
than anything, but it's definitely been a problem in the past where like I've had to stop working and I'm just like I need to go get something to eat,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Like I will bring drinks in cuz it's easy. It's just right there. You know, you get some water whatever. But yeah, no food. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why
can't do it.
I don't either. Like, partially just I don't want to get grease and Cheeto dust on the minis that I'm painting. So, um,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there playing video games, maybe you've got your bowl of flaming hot nacho cheese, whatever. But yeah, if you're painting
Right.
minis, not a great idea to have like stupid oily stuff on your fingers. But
Yeah.
what about drinks? Like I often will have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea while I'm painting. It's just, part of the overall experience there at my desk. But about you?
Sure.
What about you?
Um, for the most part, like if it's, later at night, I'll usually have a beer.
Mhm.
Um, and if it's during the day, then, you know, either some soda or usually like a Red Bull. I think a Red Bull is usually what ends up in here. Like, have a nice one like in the morning and stuff, and it just kind of keeps me going a little bit. Gives me a little bit of energy.
Yeah, there you go. For me, it's
Yeah,
instant coffee. I love Nestle instant coffee. Just
really.
microwave up a bit of water, throw a spoonful or two of that brown powder in there, mix it up, boom, coffee. And coffee like
Are you sure that's not hot chocolate?
oh, I'm sure. I'm
Have
sure.
you checked that label?
Maybe am I mispronouncing Nestle? I don't know. Nescafe. That's the word. Nescafe. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you had me there for a second though. I'm thinking like Nestle
Yeah, there's
coffee,
there's
like
this
a little bit, dark roast chocolate in there.
yeah, there's this rabbit on the cover and he looks really happy. He's got this crazy
Right.
straw that he's drinking this coffee out of. Yeah.
Just heat it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
He loves it. That little rabbit. Yeah.
Nescafe.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
All right. So what level is your 5 by 5 space there? What hobby level is your current environment?
Well, according to our level system, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'd put this. We didn't really discuss four, or really five,
All
I
right, let's
suppose.
let's talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just give a quick rundown of what's
Yeah, so
above
so
that
we kind
three.
of talked at like what's like a nice setup. A nice level 3 setup for me is, a good sized desk, good storage, all your supplies right there laid out in a convenient way, good lighting. That's that's nice right there. That's a good
Yeah,
place
yeah.
to be. What's higher? Um
Yeah, because like that, I suppose it depends on your situation. Like, why would you need more than that? Is it just nicer versions of those things, or is it that you have things like I have a mini photography station with interchangeable backdrops, right,
I
and
think
a
that
turntable that's
I
set
think
up
that adds
within
to it.
arm's reach.
Yeah. I mean, I have
Right.
because of the YouTube thing, I have multiple tables dedicated to this. Down in the basement, I have a separate table for airbrushing, so I have a separate
Yeah.
airbrushing area. That certainly adds to my overall level of hobby setup. It doesn't
Sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean we're lucky. I would rate myself maybe in a 5. Like, I have multiple tables to do work on. I have this big formerly kitchen table where I'm, doing my recording now and talking to the camera and stuff, but if I need to spread out a ton of sprues and do some organization or whatever, I've got a big organization spot. I've got my normal filming spot. And yeah, we're living the life. We're maybe once you have multiple surfaces, maybe that's when you start getting into like level 4 and stuff. Um,
Sure. Sure. Yeah, like multiple,
yeah, but what is the
like
what
a
is the wish
variety of
list here?
things that are
Yeah,
dedicated.
the wish list, like
Yeah.
how good could it be? Um, and of course it's
Ooh.
nice if you have like a recessed computer monitor so that you can be watching, TV shows and stuff without taking up room on your desk. Like that's nice. Like
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the plan. Is to
mhm.
have some nice monitors for monitoring, and then for watching things, whatever. Have them all mounted, swivel mounts that pop out from the wall, that kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, Having dedicated stations for different specific things. So
yeah.
like generally within the same area, but spread apart so that the working space is larger and cleaner more often than not.
Hmm.
So like in the closet that I'm in, because everything is within in arm's reach, I have a good lighting setup. I have a computer. I've got the photo station and everything else. Like I'd say a solid 4. I'm feeling pretty good about this
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
Other than being a little cramped, you know. Um, It's still nice. It's got nice privacy most of the time. But I mean, that's all gonna change. It's all gonna change.
Yeah, I am excited to see
Hoping to
your new
bump that number
place.
up.
Yeah, I am really excited about that. The last picture you showed me, you were kind of framing some 2x4s up to get a wall to kind of form the borders of your new hobby space there, and that was looking good. But you
Yep.
said you've got your drywall up and you're starting to paint that. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I gotta pick up some paint, paint the wall, throw on the trim, and then yeah, that wall's done.
Ooh. Do you already have the pegboard?
No, that's in the mail too.
Oh, is it?
All the
Okay.
pegboard
Okay.
stuff and
Okay.
accessories.
Well, I was
Yeah. This is
thinking,
all coming from same place. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know if it was even possible to just go to Home Depot right now and pick up a sheaf of pegboard, you know.
Yeah.
Who
I
knows?
mean it is. Home Depot is legitimately still open,
Well, there you go.
at least in my area.
Perfect.
Yeah. I went there to get the wood,
Mhm.
and the sheetrock, all the stuff, and there was a massive line.
Ooh.
Just huge, like wrapping around the side of the building. Because they were only letting so many people in. Like, I
Mm.
mean, they were handling it nicely, you know. Um, so that was pretty nice, and for the most part, people were, staying away.
Yeah.
Like the occasional older person who somehow doesn't have a clue what's going on, like asking a question in an aisle, but whatever, it's fine. I've been quarantined for weeks,
Mhm.
so you know. Yeah, that was an interesting experience shopping at Home Depot right now. But, didn't take too long to get in and
Yeah,
out.
there comes a certain point where you need your hobby room, you need your hobby setup. You're a man, you've waited long enough. You've got the opportunity, you've got the resources, and nothing is going to stop you from banging out that wall, putting some desks in there, getting some lights in there, hanging some stuff from the ceilings, and really making that a
Mhm.
level 5 to level 6 hobby area. That's okay.
That's
So
very true.
you've seen Scott the Miniature Maniac's video about his new hobby space. Rank that space.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
level is his space?
ooh, so this is a tough one because I mean, in a nutshell, I'm basically just ripping his ass off, right?
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's
building the
awesome.
same
Yeah.
space.
So if you haven't seen this
Yeah.
video on Maniac's YouTube channel, he has the from hanging from the ceiling, he has like scaffolding where he can be attaching lights. Also hanging from the ceiling are like a bunch of power outlets and stuff. Not just yeah,
Mhm.
like a new I think he had a new power line put in by an electrician so that
Yeah, he
it's not
contracted a
just a
guy to
yeah.
come in and drop it in.
It is not just an extension cord that has gone up to his ceiling from, the outlet in the other room.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I plan on doing the same thing. I do have a friend who's an electrician who
Mhm.
will come and do that stuff for me. So I'm hoping to have more than the one that Scott has.
Yeah.
I think he had one put in. I'm going for two.
Okay. I'm not sure if that changes the overall level, but but yeah, Scott definitely has one big talking head desk where I think he also does a lot of his painting. And then you can see in the background
Yeah.
behind that, he's got, his rows of IKEA furniture where he's got his drawers and stuff neatly organized. Although I think I saw in one of his recent videos. Okay, I'll have to go check this, but I think I saw in one of Scott's recent videos one of the handles on his IKEA drawers was busted. So like it's normally, attached in two places on either edge of the handle, but it was like
Yeah.
hanging
Just
hanging from
flopping
one
down.
screw. Yeah.
I'm
Um,
gonna have to look at that. I didn't notice.
yeah,
Oh, see,
I don't know
you
if that
see the
changes the
problem here.
level
See,
of his setup,
my
but
drawers are well. So his drawers are expensive
okay.
because I found them. They
Okay.
are expensive, and that
Nice.
sucks.
Well,
The ones
yeah.
I'm getting are less expensive, but they don't have handles that will break.
Mm.
Yeah. So I don't know where that lands.
Well, we'll see what breaks on yours now, won't we, Casey? But
I mean, I'm expecting it all to fall apart in like 2 months. So
Okay, let's
we'll see how it
let's
goes.
back up here. We're going to assume that all of the furniture is in reasonable shape. We're going to assume that
Okay,
the
yeah.
electrical
Let's say brand new
sockets
condition
do
on that.
not
Yeah.
cause a fire hazard. You have places to plug things in that
Yeah.
are not a fire hazard, that are convenient. You have plenty of storage space from IKEA that is not
hmm
garbage. Um, rank that where on the level setup is that? Is that a 5? Is that
I mean, I'd say so.
yeah?
5. The only thing that detracts from it really going up to a solid 6,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5.75, is the lack of a bathroom, which I have.
Ooh. Yeah, there's so many,
Mhm.
convenience and comfort kind of things, access to that bathroom and that sink, access to a refrigerator.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Now it's kind of hard to tell from videos and stuff about, air conditioning and heating and draftiness and ambient sound and pollen and dust, but these are all considerations that
Oh, yeah.
are hard to rank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, you're really getting into the fine details at that point, and much like the Olympics, a 9.8 and a 9.9 are just a bunch of bullshit, really, when it comes down to it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah. I mean, they've spent a little more time working on their ranking system, I think, and they have like a whole
I
method
would think
for
so.
yeah,
A few thousand
the
years or so.
nationality of the judges still makes a surprisingly large amount of difference in the ranking for Olympic
Look at
competitions,
you,
but
China.
yeah. Looking at you, Russia. Looking at you, was it France that had one of the really bad ones actually? But
Was it last?
no, there's
I remember China having a problem, like with the diving or whatever, and then yeah, it was Russia for a little bit there.
I started listening
I
to
mean, all of them do it. They
yeah,
all do it.
I started listening to a new podcast. I'm actually not a big sports guy at all. For the most part, I do not care.
hmm
Uh, but I started listening to a podcast that's about sports controversies. And so they'll tell stories about what,
Okay,
like when there was like a really bad like Olympics controversy, or I'm sure like Deflate Gate is going to show up on an episode at some point. But yeah,
probably.
there was one about like just like
It's just to be in the conversation, kind of a deal.
no, it's just
Like you just know what people are talking about.
it does help. It does help. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Um, but no, I yeah, that's it. It is helping me right now. I heard about like a funny controversy where like a French judge had been paid off for a gymnastics thing, no, an ice skating thing. The
Okay,
Canadians lost to the Russians, but they shouldn't have during some ice skating thing at the Olympics, and it was because of a French judge and just some BS. But um,
great.
we can cut this all out. That's fine. But the point is,
I thought it was going fine, man.
no, no, no. I'm still going. I'm still going. Don't you cut this out yet. The point is,
I'm not going
I
to.
know you're not.
That's too much work.
Folks at home listening, Casey does have final say over the final cut of these edits. So if you like them, please write Casey an email. And if you don't like them, please write Casey an email. Uh, but no, our
Yeah.
little ranking system on hobby desk setups, it's not perfect. We made it up just now in the last hour. I think it
hmm
I think it
hmm
has potential. We might make this a thing.
Definitely potential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what is a perfect score? What is we should have established this much earlier. But
That's
is
true because we don't have an
are
end
we
goal
are
in
we
sight. We're
going up
getting
to
to that
10? Is it
place.
possible to be a 10, or are we going up to like if we're talking about, you know, mini X setup in that video being a 5, like is a 5 or a
Right.
6 or a 7 like actually the maximum? Like that's a good setup for sitting around and painting little plastic
Yeah. Oh
spacemen.
yeah.
That's a good setup for painting wizards. Yeah.
That that is one of the best. And I mean maybe we are at the top. We're getting
Yeah.
close there. Um because I would say that you start getting into these weird areas of like quality, right?
Mm.
Like do you have a monitor in your space?
Yeah.
Is it 75 inches 4K, or is it 10 inches and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Is
what kind of monitor? There is an excess level, and maybe there should be like, okay, we go from 1 to like 5,
yeah.
and then immediately jump to too much as being, we'll just call it like a 10
So you've
because it's just too much.
hmm. So you've seen the gaming table, like the board game tables or the RPG tables that are like made out of mahogany and stained, and they've got all the drawers and they've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
the felt lining and everything. I mean, you could be changing out your IKEA stuff for some nice furniture, some expensive furniture.
Well, I mean, the plan was, and it's still my eventual goal, is that there's a company that makes those game tables that you're talking about, that they sell a hobby desk, and
Mm.
they're $500 for like a 3.5 foot section. But then they also have everything that you would put on it that is made from nice wood. So it's not Hobby Zone MDF. It's legit wood that someone cut. Probably still laser cut, but whatever. It's real. And that's kind of like the top there. Because in order to get a legitimate desk that you would actually that would function properly and have good organization and everything else, would be a stupid amount of money for just a desk. But that's my eventual goal.
Yeah, you should see if you can
I want the stupid
review one of
desk.
those desks for your channel. You know, contact those guys, see if they're
That is a
interested
very
in
good
a
idea. Yeah.
YouTube review. Maybe I don't know if they've had a good YouTube review yet, and you can give them a good review if
I don't know.
they work with you. You know,
Look, if somebody sends me a $500 piece of mahogany furniture that is fully customizable for literally the hobby I do,
that sounds like an
yeah,
excellent product that everyone should go out and buy.
it sounds like it.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
I mean, that's not a horrible idea. But yeah, like there is a level of excess that you can reach,
Yeah,
and maybe we should just skip, 7, 8, 9 for those things,
yeah,
because
yeah. Good
at a
job, buddy.
certain
Okay,
point,
okay,
the
you
the
won. Yeah, that's
responsibility
nice.
to
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Fine, you get a
Like,
10.
it's
Great,
that
good for you.
feeling of
Yep.
like, good for you. Like, you could have used half that and given it to the poor,
Yeah.
you know, fed some starving children.
To take a massive step back here, we are talking about a hobby that involves painting 1 inch tall plastic wizards. Like
Yeah.
it
I mean, we know
it
what we're
is it
doing.
is nice to get, a setup that is efficient and you enjoy spending time in, but it doesn't really take that much. Like there are nice things to have.
No,
It
it
is
doesn't.
nice to have a beautiful workstation where all your tools are readily available and you know right where they are and you've got your paints and your lights and everything. But when it comes right down to it, you're painting a tiny wizard. You need a place to put your elbows, and that's about it. Some light and a
Pretty
place to
much,
put
yeah.
your elbows, and you're fine. So
Right.
yeah, and this is also something that's, I mean, it's prevalent in any hobby of the people who are just they're into that hobby, and so they want to have the best of whatever they're doing. And talking about
Yeah.
um, computers and gaming battle stations and stuff. When you start to get the racing chairs and the LED strips all over everything, and the that corner of the house is just lit up purple that shifts into green into every other color of the rainbow for no good reason that affects the quality of the game whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
If anything, it detracts from it in some way.
yeah, that camper is
Yeah.
still gonna op you in CS:GO. Like you're still,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Every time.
yeah. If you don't know how to wet blend, that mahogany desk isn't gonna help you wet blend. Yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But but
Yeah.
you'll feel good sitting there. So
Oh, yeah.
I
I mean,
actually
mahogany
I,
smells
I
great.
like that though. Like once you've really reached high comfort and
Yeah.
efficiency and you have everything that you need, maybe that's level 5. And then if you've just
Yeah.
gone so far above and beyond and sold out your children's futures in order to really deck out a
Exactly.
room,
Hmm.
good for you. You get a 10. Um I
Right.
hope
And that
I
means
hope you're
something
proud.
completely
Yeah.
different. Yeah. I like this system, Brent.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. I'll have to put this
Yeah,
into
we're gonna
good use.
codify this at some point and just really,
Yeah.
really give it some thought. But
We'll write this down.
yeah, it's the first
If you
few
have any
levels that we really
suggestions
talk
for
about.
this level system,
Yeah, we need
yeah,
some help. Yeah, we
maybe some subcategories that would influence that score one way or the other.
mm,
Um,
if we could just get a whole system of
because there has to be an in
modifiers.
between.
Yeah. Yeah, if we just have
Right,
a whole
exactly.
table and one column of the table is
Hmm.
plus point 0.1, minus point 0.1, plus point 0.2.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Then you could fill it out
Yeah, we
and know.
yeah, get like an MX plus B system. Yeah, 'cause you got to figure in surface area, well,
Right,
ergonomics,
square footage, that kind of stuff.
lighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a column for freezy pops. If anyone knows how many points on this 5 to 10 point scale a freezy pop is worth, let us know. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Speaking of leaving us comments, if you head over to the YouTube channel for this podcast, that's youtube.com/paint bravely the podcast. That is probably the best place you can reach us. Just leave a comment. We really want to interact with people and just kind of get to know everybody. And I think that's going to be a pretty fun way to go. So we actually have a few comments that we got after the last video. Want to just kind of read through these, Brent, and we'll just kind of answer them as we
yeah.
go
What do we got?
and address some of the more interesting comments. So the first one is from MWW. Yeah, that's right. Again, we're going to try and skip pronouncing people just because we don't want to come across like horrible, horrible
Yeah, we
people.
don't want to out anybody, and also if anybody has like a really offensive name, we're not going to read it. So we're setting this policy now. We don't read
Right.
names. We do little abbreviations. You know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think there's only one name that we're ever going to say, but we'll get there. So the first question is MWW. Like the show, wants to know what kind of software we use to film. Looking to do their own podcast and they like our setup. So I figured it'd be pretty quick to just run through this. We both record completely separately everything.
Yes.
So Brent has his camera and his microphone going into his computer, recording everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same thing going on my end. Then he sends me that stuff and I put it all together. Otherwise, we're basically just on a Skype session so we can see each other and talk and hear.
Yeah. And what's the software that you have that records your Skype session? I mean, that does an okay job, but not great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not horrible. It's called Call Recorder.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't even know what like company it's made. It's just that's just what it's called. That's the one that I found was a recommendation. And yeah, I mean it does the job. Like it records my microphone locally. It unfortunately doesn't record your microphone,
That's
Brent,
okay.
locally, like some other things do. But we have the video. And that was originally like the first couple of podcasts, that's what we were using.
Yeah.
Um and that honestly it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, this remote podcasting thing, it's doable. We're putting in a little extra effort here. So I'm recording my audio separately in Audacity on my local computer. And then I'm also recording the video of my face separately on my like YouTube camera right now. And then later I'll go back and fix up the audio and put that together with the video I use Vegas Pro. And then I will send Casey the footage, the video and audio of me talking to the camera or talking to
Yeah.
him or whatever, and he'll do the combination of our two videos into a single video and also get the podcast out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty easy way to do it. I mean, as far as like
Yeah.
us being way more complicated about it than we could be, I suppose. This could just be straight audio, but you know what? We do YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be video here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next question is from DB once again. How do you randomly decide what bits or what random bits are worth keeping for basing or modifying a mini?
Keep all bits. So
Keep all the bits.
yeah, that's sacred. Keep all your bits.
Hmm.
If you assemble a model, yeah, if you assemble a model and you have all the bits you need off of that sprue, clip the rest of the sprue, put it in a little bag, throw that little bag in your bits bin. Um, Keep those forever. You will know when the moment is right, when you are,
Yes,
I don't know if you're
exactly.
making an orc contraption or you're making a ruined battlefield or, some other, decorative base or diorama or conversion or whatever. You'll know when you need a little extra something from some other random model kit, and you'll know that you've got a bits bin. Go back in there, have fun with it. Um, know that everything in there, you've already built the model that that kit was from, and take what you need, have fun with it. But the overall suggestion is have a bit spin of stuff that you know is extra stuff from the sprue that will only be used as conversions or basing or whatever, and you'll build that collection up over time as long as you don't be throwing stuff out. Keep it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it is having a bit box, an area where all those extra pieces are that you won't feel bad for using
Hmm.
at any given time. Like if something comes up and you rifle through that and you see something that you think will work, use it because otherwise it's just going to sit in a box
Yeah.
forever.
There are a few bits that are genuinely rare, like a multi melta or something, or a combi bolter flamer. Like there's a few bits out there that are actually rare that you might know, like, okay, save this in case I need to do a conversion for, a leader with a very specific loadout. But
Well,
most
and at that point, like
most
you would
bits,
know.
that okay, um, I always equip my orcs with shootas, no, sluggas. All of my orcs get sluggas and choppas. No orc ever gets a shoota. So this pile of orc shootas, um, yeah, I can be sticking these to the side of my trucks, no problem. Like you you'll
Yeah,
have a pile of stuff that you know is extra bits, and when the time comes, you'll know it and you'll use them.
yeah. Well, I think that sufficiently answers that question.
Mm.
Um, let's see here. I think we need to kind of talk about the elephant in the room
The
a little
popsicle in the
bit.
room.
The popsicle in the room, you know, the freezy pop in the room.
Look, the reason we weren't going to be reading people's names is because we knew if we read people's
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
names, someone would make some names just to screw with us. They would make a name just to screw with us so that we would have to read it on this podcast. And we
100%.
had this policy for a reason. And we said, you know what? We are not going to be reading people's names because if we're reading people's names, we're going to have to say stuff like Meat Popsicle. Meat Popsicle asked us a question about, storing bits. And it was a good question, but I had to say Meat Popsicle on the air. What happened, Casey?
Several times. I think something got a little out of hand. I think some things went wrong. We offended Meat Popsicle, made a mockery of him, and he's now unsubscribed.
Yeah, we got a message from Meat Popsicle that said they unsubscribed. And
Mm-hmm.
we care about our subscribers, but Meat Popsicle, look, if you're not going to work with us on this one, I, I, I don't know what to say. Casey, you got anything?
I don't even know how to address a Meat Popsicle. I don't know.
It was it was a user with a an icon. It was a little circle, and in the middle of the circle, it had
Yeah.
like a popsicle, like a fudgesicle popsicle made out of meat, and the name was Meat Popsicle. Yeah, double stick, and they unsubscribed. So The only full name that we're ever gonna read on this channel, Meat Popsicle, they unsubscribed and they let us know, and that always hurts when someone like types out
Yeah,
unsubscribed. It always hurts.
right. They type it out with an exclamation mark, and
I mean, normally it's kind of funny, like how petty they're being when they type unsubscribe, like
right.
or the reason they give or whatever. But Meat Popsicle, I swear to. Well, you guys don't have to worry about Meat Popsicle anymore. They're gone. They're gone.
That's true. I suppose now that you mention it, I mean, we can talk about Meat Popsicle all we want.
I mean, we can just, instead of replacing the names that we read out with like initials, we could just say, got another question for Meat Popsicle today.
I mean, you'll never know.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that policy.
yeah, you'll know if you type the question into chat, you'll know that you left that question because you'll be like, oh yeah, I asked a question like that. We're gonna say that your name's Meat Popsicle.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
it's not anything against you. That's just something that Casey and I have a little beef that we have with Meat Popsicle here. Um,
Little beef. Yeah.
it's a funny name. It's an all right name.
I mean,
We draw the line.
yeah,
Any name worse than Meat Popsicle, we're not reading on air. We live by a code here at Paint Bravely.
exactly.
Yeah, there's some lines you don't cross, and Meat Popsicle is on one side of that line. We're on the other. You know.
Yeah.
So,
And it's going to stay that way.
do you have any other comments, Casey? Because I don't want to talk about Meat Popsicle anymore.
I think I'm done with Meat Popsicle. He can unsubscribe all he wants. And I know he won't be listening to this because why would you listen after you unsubscribed?
Yeah.
So, you know what? I want to move on.
Yeah.
And apologize to the rest of our subscribers for Meat Popsicle.
Yeah, we're sorry that you had to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. That didn't last long. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, except for, good old Meat Popsicle.
Each and every one of the people who's actually listening, we appreciate you. And we will talk to you.
Who's actually listening?
Yes.
Next time. We will talk to you next time. Speaking of leaving us comments about this topic, I will start that over.
There's your blooper. Yeah.
It's moments like these that no one will ever see. All right.